Good evening, Fernwood. It is your able to function ally Neil here, and it's time for us to get it together with another episode of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. Today is episode 163 from November 17th, 1976. Let's talk about yesterday. It started with Charlie waking up on the couch after not sleeping in the same bedroom as Loretta. Loretta comes in very sad and tries to explain exactly what her plan was when Charlie found Loretta kissing Jody. Jody shows up apologetically and then reveals to Charlie that he has won the local race, and that is enough money for Charlie to get his testicle transplant. Wanda Rittenhouse throws her affections at Merle Jeters as the Capri Lounge is invaded by Cleet Meisenheimer. Cleet reports that Merle's condos for Christ have completely collapsed due to the shoddy workmanship of the construction company that Merle hired, and Merle is able to turn that into something that makes him look somewhat heroic. And then finally at the trailer, Heather cooks dinner for Annie Wiley, who is returning from a skydiving accident. Mary shows up and does her best to separate her family from Annie. Too many people show up and things get stressful. That's our recap for yesterday. Let's begin.
Mary Hartman! Mary Hartman!
Could you hand me that screwdriver over there, please, Charlie? I wish you didn't look like you wanted to shove it between my ribs.
I'm sorry, Jody. I'll try not to look that way anymore.
But you'll still feel it? We got to talk about this, Charlie.
What do we got to talk about? Your flood level? What's to talk about it, Jody? You'll have it done in a minute.
Man, that is not what I'm talking about. We got to get this whole thing cleaned up. I cannot take it anymore the way you've been looking at me ever since the other day.
What other day is that?
The day that you walked in on me and Loretta. I got to tell you what that was all about.
Loretta already told me about that, Jody. Now, I don't like soap operas on television. I don't like them in my own living room.
Will you please believe me that that whole thing was just for your own good? Charlie, I look on you like a father, and I want you to look at me like a son.
Yeah, well, what does that make Loretta? Now, what you was doing with Loretta, Jody, is not a natural way for a nice boy to act with his mama.
Charlie, that whole thing was just a setup. We wanted you to catch us. I only agreed to do it after Loretta told me about your problem.
What problem? I'm as fit as a fiddle.
Maybe a fiddle with a broken string. Charlie, any cockeyed hillbilly knows that just because you break a string doesn't mean that there ain't no hoedown.
Are we talking about barn stomping here, or are we going to try and fix your machine?
We're talking about missing parts. Or losing some that you think you need, although the doctor says that you don't.
That does it. That does it. It isn't bad enough that Loretta has to sing about my affliction for all the world to hear out in public. If in case somebody misses the message, she has to sit you down and have a little heart-to-heart and tell you all about it, right?
She just said that the doctor certified you clean running bill of health, and that makes sense to me.
Yeah, well, what do you know about it, Jody? Are you a doctor or are you a racing driver?
Well, I know lots of guys who lost parts, important parts, and they kept on running. Sometimes it even makes things better. And you know yourself that an engine sometimes will run better if you lighten the load.
No, this is not like a back seat that you throw out to lighten a load, Jody. This is more like a gas tank or something. I never saw a car that could move without a gas tank.
But it was your reserve tank.
Well, I ain't a car anyway. Now, I don't want to talk about it. There's only one answer to my problem, and I've put that off long enough.
You mean that doctor in New Jersey?
Dr. Fractus.
What's he do?
He's my man. What would you do if you lost a tire somewhere?
I'd go out and get me a new one.
Well, that's what he does.
I ain't never heard of that before.
Well, now you have. I'm going to make me an appointment right now. Hello.
Hello. Hello, Dr. Fracas here.
Is Dr. Fracas there?
Hello. Dr. Fracas here.
Dr. Fracas? This is Charlie Haggers. In Ohio?
Oh, yes. Hello, Mr. Haggers. How you doing?
Terrible, thank you. But I got the money, Doctor. I want to go ahead and have that operation.
Fantastic. That's wonderful news, Mr. Haggers. Wonderful. And you'll be feeling a lot better after that, I promise you.
That's terrific. When can we do it?
Just as soon as I can find a donor.
Is that a problem?
Oh, no. You see, it's a delicate procedure, and we have to be careful to find a donor that's compatible, the same blood type, things of that nature, you know.
Well, how long will that take?
Well, I'm afraid I can't say exactly, but as soon as one is available, we'll get to it.
Isn't there anything you can do to hurry it up, Doctor? I don't think I can wait a minute longer.
No, unless you can furnish a donor by yourself, Mr. Haggers. Meanwhile, I'll keep on it and get back to you the minute I lay my hands on one. Okay? Chin up, Charlie.
That's easy enough.
Bye-bye, and I'll keep in touch.
Shoot.
Something wrong?
Yeah.
Was there anything I can do to help?
What kind of blood are you?
B negative?
No. There's nothing you can do to help. Thanks anyway.
And finally, here we are.
Where are we?
Why, this is your room, dear.
This?
It was the closest thing to your home that we could find in the house.
But it's so far away from everything. And there's so many empty bedrooms downstairs and downstairs from that.
Yes, but you'll be wanting your privacy. And this way, you'll be right at the back stairs. So that if you want to make midnight raids on the kitchen, you can. Without running into anyone.
Well, I don't think it's too good of an idea of me running up and down 3 flights of stairs.
Don't worry about that, dear. We've installed this telephone up here so that if there's anything you want, you just call the servants and Heidi will run right up with it. That is, if you don't feel like getting it for yourself. But you, really should be getting your exercise, shouldn't you?
Well, I guess so. Isn't this room awfully small?
Oh, after we've done some redecorating, you'll love it. Actually, it's the only room in the house that I haven't put my touch to yet. We'll do it together. It'll be fun.
If you say so.
I do. Can I help you unpack?
Well, I really don't have that much. I'm going to be needing some new clothes, with elastic waistbands.
Oh, and we'll have such fun then, too. You know, the maternity designers have really come up with some stunning outfits. They're very cunning. Balloon sleeves and Cossack coats and Indian saris and Japanese kimonos.
That sounds like a Halloween in my neighborhood.
Of course, some of the tackier manufacturers have done really silly things like maternity wedding gowns. Oh, I'm sorry. How long do you think it will be before you'll be needing them?
I don't know, maybe a month. Mrs. Adams.
Oh, please, call me Christine, darling.
Christine, darling. Mrs. Adams, can I have something to eat?
Of course. What would you like? In fact, what have you been eating? Have you had any strange cravings, or is that just in the movies? Pickles, ice cream.
Oh, just the sound of that makes me feel nauseous. Most things make me feel nauseous.
Oh, I forgot all about that. Nauseous. I'll have to remember that.
Oh, but please, don't worry. I won't make a mess.
But I do. Kathy, I do so want you to be comfy here. I can't tell you how pleased we are to have you. I've been through hell getting this baby.
You and me both.
Really? First, we spent an entire year trying to have one of our own. Absolutely exhausting. I even went to that clinic that Sophia Loren swears by, and then they said I couldn't. And then we sent out pink cards to every doctor listed with the AMA. I even spent 3 months in Germany trying to line up an unwed mother. Nothing.
Well, at least you got to go around the world.
Not to mention the hours that I donated doing volunteer work in that home for unwed mothers. But it seemed they had very strict regulations about making private deals with the inmates.
Well, now you got one right here.
Oh, but I do hope you'll consider this as your home. We can be like sisters.
Oh, but you're nothing like my sister.
I should hope not. And you're nothing like mine.
But Brian told me that you were an only child.
Oh, shh. Brian doesn't know anything about her. Thank God. She's the black sheep of the family.
Well, where is she?
Well, the last time I saw her, she was going through a peasant phase. The very day she turned 21, she spent her entire trust to establish a basket-weaving commune for herself and some very dirty friends in some remote area of Vermont.
She sounds fun.
Now, let's find out something about you. Tell me, have you gained much weight?
I don't know. I guess so.
How much?
5 pounds.
Where?
What do you mean?
Well, it's just that I never really saw you before. So that, it's very hard for me to judge just exactly where you've put it on. I've heard that the first place that you really notice it is in the breasts.
Oh, well, I guess that's possible.
Kathy, don't be embarrassed. It's just that I'm very interested.
How interested?
Very interested.
Why interested?
Well, after all, you are carrying my baby. It's just that I want everything to be all right. And prenatal care is very important.
Well, I'm doing everything the doctor told me.
That's good. And maybe we can do just a little bit better. Maybe we can make the difference between a regular, ordinary, run-of-the-mill baby and an extraordinary baby. I do so want an extraordinary baby.
Well, I'll do my best. But why don't we work on not having a hungry baby?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Of course, I forgot. What would you like to eat?
I would like chicken of the sea on white bread.
Oh, dear, I don't think we have any of those. Our kitchen isn't very well stocked. You and I must sit down and make a list of all the things that you love to eat, so this will never happen again. Mrs. Danvers, what have you down there for some lunch for our guest? Oh, that's fine. Will you fix up a tray and have Heidi bring it up? Thank you. I hope leftovers will do. All there seems to be is some of last night's quiche.
What?
Quiche. It's a hot cheese dish. You'll love it.
Is that anything like macaroni casserole?
Not quite, but you'll love it. Oh, I am so jealous of you getting to have quiche for the first time. And just think of all the other wonderful things you'll get to try and enjoy. Since you seem to like fish, we'll have some caviar before dinner.
Oh, well, you know, I tried that once. I bought those little jars at the Federated, but it wasn't at all what I expected. And, you know, that black dye, it got all over my gym shirt and just stained it.
You'll love it. And just think, the baby will be developing good taste, even now.
Well, you know, I don't really care about a baby with good taste. What I care about is more of a lunch that tastes good. That's not original. That's a commercial.
Oh, I thought it was supposed to be a joke. You know, I haven't had this much fun since I got my first Madame Alexander doll.
Yes?
Hey.
Oh, Merrill Jeter,
How
come
are
on
you?
in.
Thank
Watch
you.
your head, watch your head.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Welcome to my humble abode.
Oh,
It's
very
nice to see you again.
Thank you. I'm sorry to barge in on you like this, Miss Weiler.
Oh,
but
please, tippy toes, or Annie. But anything as long as it's informal and feels good.
All right, we'll make it Annie then.
Fine.
Okay.
What can I do for you?
Well, I need a little help. I want to ask a favor of you. I know you probably know I've been hit with some pretty nasty charges of corruption, but what I'm doing now is trying to find some evidence to clear my name. Now, remember when you were camped out there by the condo site, remember?
Sure.
Did you happen to see or hear anything at all of a shifty nature?
No, not that I can remember. You see, they didn't actually start working until I cleared off.
Right.
The only shifty thing I saw was Commissioner Rittenhouse.
Right. May he rest in peace.
I guess he may. Wait, now, do you remember when he came by and he tried to get me to stay on the land?
Right.
Well, he dropped by here and he brought some papers. He had them on a clipboard and he left them here. They look like invoices to me, and I tried to return them to him, but with all the confusion of his death, I put them someplace.
Well, do you remember where?
Let me think a minute. I'm usually very organized. You have to be in this place. Well, they shouldn't be hard to find. Oh,
Could you-
you know what they'd be? They'd come under the heading of miscellaneous misplaced item, lost on Tuesday, found on Friday, filed on Saturday, which means they should be in a carton under my bed.
You have a whole carton for that category, do you?
Listen, I could open a Salvation Army shop with the stuff I have. You want to take a look for it?
I sure do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, I really like your place here.
Oh, thank you very much.
Very nice.
Watch it now. Oh, listen, do you see right there, up above that thing, underneath, by the parachute there, and underneath the
Yeah.
scuba gear?
Here's your receipt for the parachute. My goodness, I didn't know those babies cost that much.
Takes a lot of worms, a lot of time to make that nylon.
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Who's it? Oh, no. Mary! Come on in. Is this for me? How wonderful. Thank you.
It's a get well cake, as opposed to if I knew you were coming, I'd bake a cake. It has aspirin in it. But you sound so well already. You know that you sound so well that for a second I thought I heard two laughs coming from inside. One high, like, and then one low, sort of masculine. Just like that. That's amazing. I had no idea you were a ventriloquist. Now I see why you like to throw yourself from an airplane. You are so good at throwing things around.
I don't throw things around, Mary. Not my voice or myself.
I may have found something here, Eddie.
Merle!
Mary Hartman.
Oh, Merle, it is so good to see
How are
you
you?
here.
Thank you.
Merle, it is just so good to see you anywhere, but I would just so much rather see you here. For
That's
some
very-
strange reason.
Very sweet of
I mean,
you.
I would just so much rather see you here, say, than with Clete Meisenheimer,
Oh.
making all those awful accusations.
Yeah, I know. As a matter of fact, Annie and I were back there going through some of her things, trying to find something to clear me. But,
I hope it's going to help.
well,
By the way, what's the problem?
You mean you don't know? Oh, Annie. It has been on the news for the last 2 days.
Well, I don't even own a TV. You know, it hypnotizes your brain. Even if I did own one, I wouldn't watch anything as realistic as the news.
Well, then how do you find out what's going on in the world?
By doing what I'm doing now. I talk to people.
but getting back to the question that you asked me, about the problem, what's happened is I've hit a little snag with the condos. Now, there's been some accusations that have been fraudulent and, negligent and stuff like that. Otherwise, crooked all the way around in my dealings, but it's not really something I worry about that much, but...
Annie, you should have seen those pictures. I mean, if you think that TV depressed you before, this beautiful building just crumbled like a house made of matchsticks. You know what it was like? It was like the Jolly Green Giant tripped over it.
And they think you're responsible for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah.
And in a way, I can't blame them. They're kind of right. I probably could have been a little bit more careful when I checked into the thing. But these accusations now of me being corrupt, now there's not a word of truth in that.
Every brick.
Well, it's simulated brick.
What?
Simulated brick.
Oh, every simulated brick. Every simulated brick just collapsed into just a pile of simulated rubble. It was incredible, was it not, Merle?
Right, and by way of, ending a dream as far as I was concerned, because it was my memorial to little Jimmy Joe. And then, it gets caved in with like Sodom and Gomorrah and Watergate. And...
And I keep thinking about the celebration, that was going to start the condos, and then the one for me coming out of the hospital, and sometimes I just wonder if it isn't an omen for me,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for Ohio. By the way, what about that? What about the cornerstone? What about that time capsule?
No, they're lost, Mary. I'm sorry to say.
What do you mean lost?
Well, the pressure of the collapse, it just squashed everything into the ground about 50 foot. So they got to sink a whole new foundation now. A time capsule, that's going to be another 1,000 years before anybody comes across that. 1,000 years instead of the 100 everybody was counting on.
Do you realize how much more people will appreciate this 1,000 years from now as opposed to 100 years from now?
Even in the mud and scum of things, there always, always something sings.
Loretta already wrote a song about this?
No, honey. No, that was written by Emerson. Fragments.
Well, fragment or not, I mean, it's absolutely on target, I feel. I mean, 1,000 years from now, for all we know, there may not even be an Ohio left. You see, the point is this. Every cloud does have a silver lining. Even the mushroomy ones.
But Merle, I mean, do you think these things could clear you up? I didn't see anything here.
Well, now that's hard to say, Annie, but Wanda, you remember Ms. Rittenhouse? Mm-hmm. Well, she says she's absolutely sure she can find something to help me, you know. She's over at Rittenhouse's office right now going through his things, looking for some proof.
Well, she is so interested in you, Project.
Well,
I mean, it was probably her idea that you come over here and check it out with Annie, huh?
yeah, that's a good guess, but it's wrong. Actually, she was following her own leads, and then I happened to remember Annie myself, so I just come over here on my own.
Well, I sure hope it's going to help. Well, why don't we have some of Mary's cake?
Great. Terrific.
Oh, look. Oh, Mary, I think this is so thoughtful. This is Emerson, too, isn't it?
Yes. It's from an essay called Compensation. At first, I thought it was going to be about insurance. But it turned out not to be about insurance at all. Now, this line here, actually, I'm not sure what that means. I picked it out because it seemed like the kind of line that sort of summed up life for the moment.
Every act rewards itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does that, exactly. You know who ought to see this is Garth Gimble. You know, he'll love this line. He'll want to sign that Emerson guy up on the spot.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Every act
Rewards
itself. Yeah.
Not that I really understand how a condo's collapsing, can reward the condos, but I don't think philosophy's supposed to be taken seriously. I mean, literally. I just don't think so, do you? Anyway, what I meant by this line, personally what I meant, every act rewards itself. Eat the cake, you'll gain 2 pounds. That's what I meant.
So we have a few new places to go. A shack, I assume that's in the back of the Haggers' lawn or something, but that's where Jody and Charlie do their car fixing stuff. Mechanic stuff, I guess. Jody is doing his best to make Charlie feel better about what's going on, I guess, and or at the very least soften Charlie's anger, which he feels, and he's gonna, but I get that impulse. Charlie, of course, reveals that Loretta has talked to him about the injury, the missing testicle, and of course Charlie gets sensitive about that. And that's understandable, but Charlie is set on talking to Dr. Fracas about that testicle transplant. I'm using that specific phrase because it's fun to say, testicle transplant. When you have a transplant, you need a donor. And short of Frankensteining someone, meaning like hitting them on the back of the head, not that the doctor did that, but when you're trying to find a donor, someone needs to be willing to give something up, or they need to be dying, I think, or dead. That is the latest delay. Then we cut over to the Adamses, another creepy family, and hey, we see Kathy's new spot, and Kathy is clearly uncomfortable. She makes every reason to not stay there. I don't think the room is actually small, but I feel that Kathy is just uncomfortable, and she's trying to find excuses to not move into that spot. And then, well, she is there, and then Christine is really just snobby and gross, and as overbearing as before. At least less racist stuff is said today. We'll see that Kathy's story, I think, is going to move forward in this direction for a while. So, just uncomfortable, and it makes me uncomfortable. And then we get a little bit of a breath of fresh air when we head over to Annie's trailer, and Merle shows up and is trying to get some information about the Rittenhouse company that might exonerate him from the accusations. And, you know, for me it was a light getting to know you bit, because we're seeing this new side of Merle, and we're seeing Annie interact with him. And then Mary shows up, and it took me a while to clue into this, but it was clear that Mary was suspicious that there was a male voice in the back of the trailer. And it wasn't until after she saw Merle, like not even when she saw Merle, but it took me a second to go, oh, she thought Tom was back there. And that's why she was thrilled to see Merle, because I don't think that Mary actually likes Merle. But she likes seeing a man that's not Tom in the back of the trailer. And then the episode, like, that scene kicks into full Vic and Sade mode. And, you know, if you don't know that old radio show from the 1930s, I don't know how long that show was on, but I have cited that show as an inspiration for the way that people might speak in this show. So I'm just gonna find a Vic and Sade link and put it right here, because if you like this show, you might dig that show. Like, it's a radio show, you'll just have to listen to it, but I think if you listen to an episode of Vic and Sade, hey, put a comment down here and tell me how you like it. Tell me if you think it's similar or different. It's not quite as 70s topical as Mary Hartman is, and it couldn't be because it was the 1930s, but the way that people talk and the conversations that they have seems really similar. But then we get to Emerson. To me, that is the most Vic and Sade conversation, where they talk about some topic and they just have wildly varying points of view that happen to range on the same topic. So Annie quotes Emerson, and then for some reason Mary has a quote from Emerson. Like, she doesn't seem to really even understand it, because she's like, if you eat the cake, you'll gain some pounds. That's the reward that you're going to get from eating the cake. I feel like there may be some points that I've missed, so if you think of things that I didn't get to, put them in the comments, because, you know, that's how we do it here. Thank you so much for getting together with me, keeping it together with me. We will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.